Tom Landrum would remember the night and its grim details for the rest of his life. While the humid evening held the prospect of another searing summer, a carnival atmosphere gripped his hometown of Laurel, Mississippi. More than 1,000 people had gathered near the Jones County Courthouse to await the execution of Willie McGee, a 35-year-old black man whose case had become a worldwide cause célèbre. McGee had been charged with raping a white woman 6 years earlier. The truck driver insisted the affair had been consensual, but he was convicted and sentenced to death in 1945, shortly after the woman filed a complaint. The verdict was overturned by a higher court. So was a second decision following a trial where another all-white jury took only 11 minutes to find him guilty. After a third conviction, the U.S. Supreme Court refused to intervene, even as an international clamor grew over this latest example of Mississippi justice. If a black man was accused of violating a white woman, it called for the supreme penalty, even if there was doubt about his guilt. Scores of other black defendants had been sent to death row on dubious charges in Mississippi and attracted little notice. Unlike those cases, McGee's impending doom attracted countless sympathizers, including Albert Einstein, the Mississippi novelist William Faulkner, and the acclaimed singer-actor Paul Robeson. Demonstrators took to the streets on McGee's behalf from London to the lawn of the White House. At the Lincoln Memorial, protesters wearing Free Willie McGee t-shirts chained themselves to pillars near the stone image of the great emancipator. Yet the out-of-state activity had little impact in Mississippi, in part because McGee had been represented during his appeal by firebrand New York attorney Bella Abzug, a dedicated leftist whose arguments questioned Mississippi values. Since his defense was financed by the Civil Rights Congress, Mississippians were quick to link the group to the Communist Party and the far left. Support for McGee by thousands of Union members outside the South did little good in a region historically hostile to organized labor. The outcry by those foreign to Jones County only solidified belief in Mississippi that McGee should be put to death, legally, yet without more delay. Earlier, National Guard units had to be deployed to prevent his lynching between trials. Now, to ensure that McGee's death would be carried out properly, preparations had been made to bring the state's portable electric chair, a device known as Old Sparky, to Laurel and install it in the same courtroom where McGee had been convicted. To ensure adequate voltage, a cable attached to an outside generator was strung through a courthouse window and connected to the electric chair. With the climax of the long drama at hand, excitement coursed through the town. As the midnight hour for McGee's death approached, a local radio station carried live reports for those who had not come to the courthouse. An announcer commented that an execution was not necessarily a joyful occasion, but he added, "When it becomes necessary, it must be done." On the streets surrounding the scene, knots of white people waited, some in lawn chairs as if for a picnic. More youthful spectators climbed into trees to get unobstructed views of the courthouse. When a state highway patrolman announced that the time had come for McGee to die, the news provoked cheers. Inside the courtroom, 100 privileged witnesses had been allowed to see the execution. Hundreds of others surrounded the grounds of the courthouse. They knew the procedure had begun when the generator groaned loudly. Some imagined that lights dimmed, as happened in such scenes in the movies. The crowd clapped enthusiastically and shouted. They cheered again a few minutes later, when McGee's lifeless body, covered with a white sheet, was loaded onto the hearse of a funeral home serving black residents of Laurel. Tom Landrum, a high school senior dressed in working-class denims, watched on the streets of Laurel that night, drawn with his schoolmates to the spectacle. An offspring of one of Jones County's largest and best-known families, the boy followed the proceedings from a vantage point outside a downtown theater. Some of his friends were among those clinging to high branches of trees. At first, Tom was caught up in the excitement over an event that was winning worldwide attention. But when the exercise ended, he recognized the enormity of the activity. It resulted in the death of a man, scorned by the community and condemned to a final proverbial Last Supper. The boy was suddenly gripped by the poignancy of the moment. He felt sickened and personally diminished. He said to himself, "I should never have come." And he vowed, "I will never do something like this again."